I was just being a silly Billy, like usual.
Hello?
That's when I see evil freaky Billy walk in.
Who wants to get evil and freaky with me?
Gets the hell out of here, freaky Billy.
In the fourth Equestria Girls film, Legend of Everfree, each of the main 7 gained superpowers and eventually get linked to these crystals that probably had equestrian magic in them from Camp Everfree that they used to defeat the villain. I've seen people tackle redesigning Equestria Girls, and because I am so incredibly autistic about this show, I knew I wanted to do some designing, but mostly rewriting of the spinoff too. Actually, I thought this was going to be a longer video to make if I just did the regular civilian outfits. I was wrong. People have a lot of opinions on the canon designs, obviously. I think most people agree that the dolls themselves were poorly executed. But what I want to focus on today is not the main basic outfits. For those not in the know, the fourth Equestria Girls movie gave the main 7 magical girl / superhero transformations, which they proceeded not to use anyway for most of Equestria Girls content that came after. They also got a different transformation in the Forgotten Friends special, which some of them are improvements and some of them are downgrades. It feels like adding one and then subtracting one, so you just end up with the same number you started with. My main problem with the magical girl outfits is that they look too cluttered and like the designers just didn't really know what to do for some of them. The first iteration, which is known as the Crystal Guardians, it came off as just slapping whatever looks cool onto the character model to make it look appealing to little girls to sell toys of. In the second, which is officially called Friendship Power, it does look less cluttered, but both sets still have a sort of lack of cohesion. Which, yeah, in the second set, each individual outfit is coherent, they don't really look together, and that is just a personal preference that I want, but it could also be argued that the first wave was just too much to put on your eye to process at once, and it also just didn't really make sense. The only unifying thing from the first set are that some accessories are straight up crystals, but those details are really too small to make it feel like the outfits have any sort of unity. I've never drawn magical girls, and I've also never tried streamlining designs for animation or for mass-produced fashion dolls, so those were things I wanted to try out as well. I also have some concept of a rewrite of Equestria Girls, so I wanted my magical girl designs to actually have an effort to reflect my writing and lore choices. While I am aware that a lot of magical girl shows or media don't necessarily have uniform outfits, 1, I like it, and 2, I feel like that uniformity or connectedness would tie in pretty well with the whole magic of friendship idea. So this video is going to be pretty self-indulgent since I'm going into these designs with a different goal to guide me than what Hasbro or whoever else worked on Equestria Girls was trying to accomplish. They were trying to make colorful characters to turn into dolls with different doll outfits anyway, and without much consideration for the established universe or even what constitutes as fashionable in some cases. Most of the results are pretty hit or miss. I'm doing glorified fan art / an AU that I'm passing off as practicing technical art skills by trying to streamline outfits and design with a specific medium in mind. 2 mediums actually, I'm doing one show design and one slightly altered doll design for each of the main 7. Except not each of them in this video because I only did 4. I am going to have notes on the original designs for each of these sections, but most of these designs were made after like looking at them briefly and then just starting over from scratch. It's not taking an outfit and then making a few alterations. I just completely started from scratch with a different angle. For Twilight, her original outfit has the same problem as Twilight's castle in the original show. The spikes are just imposing and scary. They don't really scream friendship. And in the Equestria Girls spin-off, the spikes on the outfit just look like unnecessary and extra. I know the visor is probably because she has glasses, but I was never really that big on that idea either, because like, hey, nerd emoji glasses. I never really got why light blue was so part of Twilight's design either. It does go well with the purple, so it is nice, but I don't feel like it's really Twilight. Since I kept finding the canon color palettes to be too much, too bright, I decided for the transformed outfits to follow a similar monochromatic or just simpler color scheme to a lot of magical girl franchises and a good amount of superhero franchises, honestly. So based on that limited color palette, I decided to try out the 6 60-30-10 rule, I believe, where it's like 60% is dominant color and then 30% is different color, 10% is another color, except in the recording, I thought it was a 70-20-10 rule, which is a different rule. It applies to other kinds of design. Apparently for the colors, it's 60-30-10, not 70-20-10. But I keep saying 70-20-10 throughout the whole recording, so just keep that in mind. For Twilight, I chose 70% to be purple, 20 to be pink, and 10 to be like this light yellow for a more celestial look, mostly because she's an alicorn in the pony world, and 3/4 of those relate to the sky in some ways, so I wanted to tie back to that. But I also thought human Twilight would be interested in space, again, because she's often related to stars, and I figured if she was going to study alternate universes or magic as a human, then physics and space are probably a good place to start. You know, space, because no duh, it's cool, and physics to see if the concept of multiple far-off universes or magic itself existing is even possible. I wanted to keep the pony hair in the girls' transformed / ponied up state, but in their regular forms they'd have more regular hair unless they dyed it, because obviously Rainbow Dash has to be rainbow and Pinkie Pie has to be pink. That is law. For the doll version of this Twilight design, her bangs could be blunt cut like the original, but it would look good more like G1 Cleo Denial, because I do think some people can pull off blunt cut bangs. Cleo was one of them, and Twilight's bangs as a pony are just too iconic, honestly. For the dolls, I also want to keep the scannable necklaces that the originals had, so I'm basically replacing the canon necklaces with a different design and replacing that design with a scannable necklace on the doll. So the scannable necklace and the actual transforming necklace look different, but they're also one and the same. Putting 2 factory-made necklaces on a doll at once is probably complicated. The outfits themselves are basically broken into torso / bodice, skirt, sleeves, boots, and headpiece plus necklace. The necklace and boots are uniform, and throughout the outfit I tried including a shape corresponding to each element, which is also prominent at the neckline, as well as a color corresponding to each element. Each girl has a unique skirt, sleeve, torso, and headpiece. Though for Twilight I forgot a headpiece, but I do have a sketch of it here. And also, I forgot her pony appendages. I added them literally at the very end, but they're unshaded, so sorry about that. In the first Equestria Girls movie, they all have these weirdly chunky boots, but supposedly, because I don't know where the original statement was from, the boots are supposed to resemble hooves by blending the leg and the foot together. I don't hate them that much, probably because I didn't like some of the later shoes they got either, but I wanted to try to put the chunky boots into the transformed designs, mostly to see if it is possible for them to look kind of decent. And I'm justifying this by saying that the girls' transformed state is near equivalent to them ponying up in the first few films where they get all those horse appendages and stuff. So having big boots meant to merge the leg and the foot might make more sense there. Emphasis on might, I'm still not entirely sold on them. The powers each of the main 7 have in the original are good, like they relate to the characters, but I just keep nitpicking them whenever I think of how weird the convoluted magic is supposed to work. Like, did the geodes always have those powers, or did they adapt to the user? If it's the latter, how powerful are these things? Like, what's stopping someone from getting a geode and having their power just be nuclear bombs? And if it's the former, then why? Well, why is one just sprinkle explosion? That is so specific. So in my rewrite, the geodes or whatever accessory that gives the main 7 powers basically parallel to the elements of harmony. So now that gives a new problem. How do sprinkle explosions relate to laughter? Shouldn't Rarity shields make more sense for loyalty? What does speed have to do with loyalty? Most, if not all, of the original powers were kept anyway, because I do think they're pretty neat. You know, they fit the characters very well, either as a primary or a secondary power, because I ended up giving everyone 2. Yippee! Twilight is a bit of an outlier though. I kept her telekinesis and added teleportation, and her secondary power is kind of just the cliche magical girl energy blast. So she has a staff with some sort of accessory for said blast that functions basically the exact same as the original show's element of magic, you know. When the 5 are present, a spark will cause the 6th element to be revealed. As for the lore, the general premise I have of a rewrite mostly aims to give the main 7 a closer lifestyle to the ones they have as ponies, aka they're actual adults, so the weird age changes for some characters but not others doesn't happen too much. However, it does come with a caveat. As I said before, I've watched other rewrites and redesigns. A lot of them put the main cast in college together instead of high school. Before I go on, this is not a complaint. I love these videos. They all have really cool interpretations of humanizing the ponies. I think it's a good way to age up the characters closer to their pony versions, who are adults with no definitive age, while keeping a similar environment to the original Equestria Girls films, and also providing a convenient reason for the whole main cast to see each other regularly. And I'm saying this for the sake of transparency, that this part of the rewrite was probably influenced by other people's rewrites. I like watching those videos, I watch a lot of them, so I just felt it would be remiss to not point out that this detail was probably more influenced than the others. It would probably make more sense lore-wise for some of them to not be in college and just be living in the same town, since none of them are mentioned to be actively attending any school, and Rarity literally owns her own physical store that she spends most of the day operating. But Twilight was assigned to go to Ponyville by Celestia while actively studying pony magic, so it's implied she's undergoing some sort of education under Celestia. But it's unclear what level, since only 4 schools outside of the ones from Equestria Girls are known, and the 4th is Twilight's own school that she establishes all the way in Season 8. It's unclear how large the age range for students at the School of Friendship is, but they are all children, so probably legal minors. And the other 3 are the Cutie Mark Crusader School in Ponyville, Celestia's School of Magic, which kept Twilight from when she was a child to probably when she was adult, and debatably the Wonderbolts Academy. I'm only counting it because it's under the MLP wiki as an educational institution, but it serves as both a Wonderbolt boot camp and the headquarters for the actual Wonderbolts. So my best guess is it's some sort of post-secondary institution, but I really don't know. This is all to say the education system in Equestria is a bit murky, and for my AU it is really just personal preference, because I just think the college is more interesting. I'm not an adult, I have no idea how people meet up regularly as adults, and I'm personally getting a lot of anxiety about college, so I'm giving these horses good college lives to cope with it. Before meeting the main 6, Twilight is more like Pony Twilight before meeting the main 6. So focused on studying that she comes off as kind of rude and standoffish. She's going to AU Ponyville's college because it has an interesting sort of internship or abroad program. The academics have some programs that would help her going to grad school somewhere else. And I literally just thought of this as I was writing the script. Like, hear me out, okay? What if the equivalent of her being sent to Ponyville by Celestia after her warning about Nightmare Moon was rejected was getting denied from her original top choice of college and she had to go to Ponyville's college instead? I also thought maybe she moved to Ponyville in her senior year of high school, which would also give some buffer time of her being adjacent to the others but not really friends before Pony Twilight goes to the human world. Yes, that's still happening. Why is Pony Twilight going to the human world?
I have a way out of this. Do you trust me? Of course! See you soon!
Sunset Shimmer is iconic to Equestria Girls, so even though her existing causes a lot of lore problems that were never officially answered in canon, I'm still including her in the rewrite. My original plan was that Pony Sunset and Human Sunset both exist and they know about each other existing, but Human Sunset is the one that becomes a magical girl superhero thing, and Pony Sunset goes back to Equestria. Because, I don't know, having to adjust to being an entirely different creature with probably different aging and a different system of how time works might be upsetting if Sunset ever wants to go back and visit Equestria or travel between the worlds. Apparently there was supposed to be an actual human Sunset, but that idea got scrapped. But as the canon stands now, Sunset can also be viewed as a sort of bridge between the 2 dimensions, and that is also an interesting concept. So Sunset Shimmer was a former student of Celestia's, but in the pony world it doesn't look like she and Twilight ever met. So in this AU, Sunset and human Twilight didn't know each other and went to school together for some time. Sunset got kicked out for whatever reason, probably being power hungry like her pony counterpart, and later on it was her who discovered the alternate pony dimension, so she began working on portal magic for some time. She might have tried to show human Twilight, but human Twilight was all, no, your ideas are insane and kind of unethical, you should stop. So they hate each other now. So at this point, if I am going with there being 2 sunsets, my original plan was that Human Sunset would meet Pony Sunset, and they both be able to communicate and study dimension and portal magic together. Human Sunset would know about other kinds of magic from Equestria. I do like what I have going for Human Sunset, but the problem is once the whole hypothetical first film happens and Sunset stops being the main antagonist, Human Sunset would join the human main 7, but I just had no idea what to do for Pony Sunset after that. So alternatively, if it's just one Sunset, then is she originally from the pony world or the human world? I'm going with the human world because that version of Sunset that I have is more fleshed out, and her nature as a bridge between the 2 worlds could also be connected to the fact that Equestria used the human world as basically a prison for some time, like how Starswole banished the sirens. Like, Sunset could have some sort of equestrian descent and also already have a bit of magic within her probably, but she would still be born and raised as a human. So that means Pony Sunset never went to Celestia's magic school because she never existed, but honestly that doesn't change that much of Equestria as it stands. Either way, Sunset Shimmer still takes Twilight's crown and Twilight still has to go to the human world to get it back. In the process, Pony Twilight would then be human Twilight and the other human main 6. They all basically realize that there's equestrian magic in the human world because 1, the portal, and 2, the side effect of using that dimension as a dumpster for so long. So it's like a mix of the first movie and the geode subplot of the fourth one, since once they do pony up and defeat Sunset, it is a full transformation. They get cool outfits, cool hair, the pony appendages, etc. Sunset's full redemption is still in Rainbow Rock's Friendship games, and that's when she get an actual transformed look. And I'm gonna be honest, I struggled with the transformed look. I just didn't know what to do for her lower torso area because I already gave a draft of Rainbow Dash's sort of corset. I even went back after finishing all of the video designs to try something that looked more like her second Friendship Power outfit, and I like that. I don't know. I like how in the original, Sunset sticks to this bad girl vibe and kept getting spikes on her transformed outfits, so I'm keeping those. She totally wore fishnets in her untransformed state too, but unfortunately I didn't draw those for this video. Sunset admittedly has some of the better outfits, and the things that I don't like about them are mostly just nitpicks, besides the weird boots on her Friendship Power outfit. I also kind of like her dress, where it has a solid part and some other parts are slightly transparent, so I adapted it into my outfit, though I'm not really sure I like my Sunset outfit in general. I wanted all the girls to be rainbow because in the original show and in the first two Equestria Girls movies, the elements of harmony attack with a big rainbow blast, but the ponies themselves aren't even rainbow. This is probably because historically the color green didn't sell well in girls' toys or whatever, but that always annoyed me, so I made them an actual rainbow. Fluttershy is green. My original plan was Pinkie Pie is red because Pinkie Pie has to stay pink, and then Applejack would be orange because Applejack is always orange, but that meant Sunset can't be red, and half of Sunset's design as a pony is yellow anyway, so I decided, okay, she'd be yellow. So her 70-20-10 was yellow, red, and teal. Except the messy contrasts of Sunset's red and yellow is a thing that's also so iconic to Sunset's design, so that's probably why I'm the most disappointed in the drawing. Maybe not disappointed, just the least satisfied with it. In the second sort of draft version of it, I changed her color to red, so then Sunset would be red, but then in that iteration, that would mean there isn't an actual rainbow there either, but like at least we'd have the color green. Applejack would be, I guess, both orange and yellow, and Pinkie Pie would just be pink. Purple, red, and pink, they'd all be separate colors. Mostly, I just didn't really like the original outfit because the colors of Sunset's hair and outfit blend too much into each other, because they're the exact same. Sunset's hair has always been a point of contention because the yellow and red don't really look coherent as jagged streaks, and it often distracts from anything else on the model. But I do think the red and yellow combination can look good, but for the contrast to not be so messy or eye straining, the streaks should probably not be in the middle of each hair part. But on the other hand, maybe the messiness adds to the design as a way to convey Sunset herself as messy. You know, fiery, rebellious, constantly going against the grain. I don't know. Here's Sunset.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to go over a small bit of Twilight and Sunset's lore to explain my general premise, but for the rest of the main 7, aka 2 of them, I'm just going to focus on explaining the designs for this video. But if you guys do want to see my take on their regular outfits, I'll probably go more into the other 3 writing there. I actually kind of like Fluttershy's second outfit, emphasis on kind of solely because of her dress. I like the idea of a layer over her dress. It fits well with the flowery theme of the outfit. It is very Fluttershy, and I think part of it is that the lower part of the dress has more slight curves. In the original show, Pony Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie were both designed with circles and curves in mind, but while Pinkie Pie's curves are more bouncy, Fluttershy's were made to look more flowing, like waves. But the inner dress on Friendship Power Fluttershy just looks impractical to move around in. I know if they have superpowers, they wouldn't have to rely on moving around a lot, but they will have to move somewhat, so I kept that in mind. I also like the flowers in her hair, so I kept them, sort of. At the time, I thought it was easier to draw if I just made them a flower crown, so they'd all be in a uniform line, but I could still see this version of Fluttershy with flowers just scattered at the top of her hair. In the original, I felt like the bug-looking shoulder pieces and waist pieces just throw off the overall outfit with their shape and their color. That's just a weird place to add contrast. The eye is drawn to areas with harsh contrast, so sometimes that contrast can be used to intentionally draw your eyes to a certain part of a design for some sort of emphasis. It's obviously not required, but it does sort of throw off my eyes a bit when I'm looking at the outfit. It follows a nice color scheme overall, and then there's these chunky shoulder pieces and harsh-edged magenta crystals. I think the sharp geometric crystals are just big enough to look like they don't go with the outfit. But I can't really think of any alterations in their size or the crystals themselves that would ease the outfit on my eyes, because the harsh edges of the crystals just don't really go with the abundance of curves and circles on the rest of her outfit. And I mean abundance, because the hem of her skirt, her neck, her socks all have a scalloped hem. I don't like the scalloped hem being that small. I don't like a scalloped hem in general, actually. So for my Fluttershy, possibly against better judgment, I did try to see if I can make the scalloped hem look good, or at least make me dislike it slightly less. So I kind of cheated. I tried to make it look like that outer layer of fabric was pleated at the skirt part, so the scallop hem was actually each pleat having a curved end, but either I didn't draw very well or that just didn't work either. So in the final one, it's unclear whether or not it looks pleated, so I actually kind of don't care. I do like the hem of the inner skirt though, so that's nice. And by this point, whatever's on screen probably has a pretty noticeable discrepancy with the doll version. Not only did I forget the necklace, but I also forgot to update the skirt part itself, and it also has the other color scheme that I kept flip-flopping between. I wasn't sure if the inner skirt or the skirt cover thing should have the lighter or darker color. The color scheme that I went with for the fully rendered Fluttershy is the one that I decided on.
Rarity? What are you wearing?
My emotions, darling. Stress couture.
I actually really like Rarity's second outfit's dress and how it utilizes the diamond shape on the skirt and the one shoulder neckline. I don't think I've ever drawn anything with that type of strap, just because I personally don't like how it looks. The first outfit also has a pretty good use of triangles, which are similar to diamonds. I do want to go back and try redrawing the outfit with a one shoulder neckline, but unfortunately I only got that idea after drafting the outfits and making all the final renderings for the video pieces. I might sketch it post-production, I'm not sure. The final drawing is still probably my favorite besides Fluttershy. Most of the things I dislike about Rarity's original outfits are nitpicks, like the cape in her second outfit and the dark blue fabric parts of her first. It looks like the ones on her torso and the ones on her skirt just look like the same piece of fabric. Also, I'm not sure why they gave her this big hair poof. Like Sunset, most of my design philosophy for Rarity's transform state was just to have more unity or cohesion with everyone else. Enough differentiation, but you could tell that they're all on the same team if you weren't already predisposed to knowing that they're all the main characters and also all from the same show. However, I wanted her hair to be short because I just think she'd look good with a shorter Hollywood glam style. Before you say anything, I did not give her that hair because I didn't really feel confident in drawing that. I promise if I draw her again, I'll give her that old Hollywood glam, but that is not today. Plus, Rarity's hair is arguably short as a pony anyway. But giving her shorter hair posed a problem with the hair extending out to form the ponytail. This is also probably why everyone's hair was really long in the original. In the dolls, this pony hair is delegated to these small streaks that are just barely noticeable, but I think giving short hair Rarity a really long ponytail with more volume than her actual hair just wouldn't look right, so I tried out a really thin long ponytail like the dolls instead. I'm not completely sold on it, but it's okay, I think. And here's the drawing. Her power's ribbons because ribbons are pretty. And that is all of them. I know now not to promise any time frame for uploads because something will happen with life. I don't know if I'm still gonna have TikTok in the near future, but I do have an Instagram and a Tumblr. And I'm working on another 30-day prompt list, so that's also why it's taking a bit more for long form content. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'll do a part 2 if this does well because I do have drafts for the others. And of course, any constructive feedback in the comments would be appreciated. That's it. Do whatever you want when you finish a video you like. I'll see you